Hi, my name is Kathryn Duncan, and I'm here to talk a little about my experience with the Georgia Tech Physics Department's public lecture series. After attending all the public lectures this semester, one stood out to me in particular. This was the third public lecture given by Dr. John C. Mather, who works as a senior astrophysicist in the Observational Cosmology Lab at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. In addition, Dr. Mather was a 2006 Nobel laureate. The topic of his public lecture was the history of the universe from the beginning to end. To me, this seemed like a very broad and difficult topic to cover in about an hour, but I was surprised by everything I took from this lecture. Dr. Mather started off with mentioning the Big Bang, but according to him, that is not the correct terminology for what actually happened. Instead, he liked to refer to the Big Bang as a cosmic expansion 13.7 billion years ago, and he was a little sad that his terminology hasn't caught on. Quickly he moved into the early history of the universe, which came in the order of galaxies, stars, planets, then life. Then Dr. Mather began a timeline view of our early universe, which I would also like to share with you. The sun and first bodies in our solar system appeared approximately 4.5 billion years ago. When the Earth was new, it was very cool with the possibility of water. Shortly after came life forms, which was about 3.8 billion years ago. Another interesting fact that he told was all life uses the same genetic code. We are related to bugs apparently, maybe even bugs. The young sun was also very active. It continuously got brighter, which warmed up the cool Earth. As the title of Dr. Mather's lecture promised, this was a history of the universe from the beginning to end. After he explained a brief early history of our universe, he transitioned into the topic of civilization in the future. He started to throw out predictions of what our world as we know it might turn into in the future. These were a little scary to think of. Dr. Mather said in about 1 billion years, either the sun will get too hot for life, or all the carbon dioxide goes into rocks and there's a big freeze. Then in about 7.6 billion years, the sun goes out. A little sad to think about that happening. Sad in general, knowing that the Earth we live on is not permanent. After Dr. Mather covered a brief history of the universe, he explained about a new space telescope that he was involved in. This is the James Webb Space Telescope, which is set for launch in 2018. Dr. Mather showed a video of how the telescope would be set up in outer space, which seemed like an incredibly difficult task. Here's a picture of what the telescope will look like in outer space. Now I'm going to teach you about how the telescope will form while in space from what I learned in watching Dr. Mather's simulation. Since the James Webb Telescope is extremely large, it cannot fit in a rocket unless it's folded. As you can see from the picture, it has a very large sun shield and an 18-segment mirror that looks like a honeycomb. Once the Webb telescope is approximately 1 million miles from the Earth, engineers will issue commands to the Webb telescope to unfold it. The first part of the telescope to unfold is the solar panel, which is followed by the communications antenna. Next, the layers of the sun shield will drop into place from the front and back, and spread out into the kite shape seen in the picture. Finally, the side mirror segments will be moved forward to form the complete honeycomb. After Dr. Mather showed that video, he concluded the lecture with another simulation of colliding galaxies. I've never seen a video like that, and it is frightening to think of our galaxy colliding with another galaxy. Before this lecture, I had never really taken much interest in the history of the universe and how we got here from a physics viewpoint. I also didn't know much about large space telescopes. However, after the lecture, I began looking up space telescopes pictures like the ones Dr. Mather showed during his lecture, and they were just incredible. Here are a few that I thought were really cool. Overall, I learned so much from this lecture. I really knew very little before this lecture about the topics that Dr. Mather covered. I mean, I knew about the Big Bang Theory before it was a TV show, and I knew about the transition it took for life to be like it is now on Earth. However, Dr. Mather really opened my eyes to what the universe will become in the future. Our world will come and go, and it makes you think about all the other galaxies that go through the same process and we will never know about. Of course, I will never be affected by the Earth burning up from the sun or freezing because of carbon dioxide levels in my lifetime, but just the fact that it's probably going to happen is strange to think of. Dr. Mather gave a wonderful lecture that really kept me interested and entertained, and I hope you learned a little something too from my video that I learned from Dr. Mather.